It's Tuesday, May 18th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, a genre at which we suck ass. Real-time strategy games.
Let's do this.
So I'm sitting at work today, doing my work thing. It's getting around lunchtime. I'm kind of hungry. And the front desk calls and says there's someone here with a package for me.
Alrighty.
I don't know what this is. I haven't ordered anything, and I didn't recognize the name they said from it. So I go up there, and it's a pizza delivery guy who has 3 gigantic pizzas from a really expensive, nice place, and he says they're for me. Well, he said they're for a name that is very similar to mine.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, he had my extension, like he knew my phone number at work, and it was delivered to our office with the right address from some guy. I have no idea who it is. I even went through my Outlook stuff and old business cards. I have no idea who this is. I'm assuming it's some vendor trying to get, in on my good side, but for the life of me, it's kind of like that those Artist Alley people who had the little ghosties. And we forgot who they were, but we remembered the ghosty.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Someone got me a really nice pizza, but I have no idea who they are. But I'm still not convinced that it wasn't just poison pizza. Got in trouble? Yawning?
I yawned again, yeah.
My story was that boring?
No, but
Mystery random pizza?
I'm pretty sure there's probably a reasonable explanation for it.
Yes,
Or
someone's trying to get me pizza.
Maybe there wasn't a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was like some accident or some hackers or a computer error in your favor. Collect 3 pizzas.
See, I never considered the idea of hacking.
Do not pass go.
I never thought of hacking Grubhub to just have them send me food.
Yeah, because think about it, right? Chipotle, you can pay with the credit card online, walk into the Chipotle and get food, right? So you don't even need to hack Chipotle to put in fake orders. You can just figure out what orders are in there, go in, say, yeah, this should be a burrito here for Joe, and you know that Joe ordered one. You get there before Joe, and you take his burrito.
And no one ever checks.
Nope.
In fact, the thing is, if I were homeless, what I would do is, Starbucks, there's always that counter and everyone's waiting for the drink. No one really pays attention. You could pretty much just walk up, stand there, kind of a little bit away, and then they're like, got a tall double frappe,
That's me.
Yep, just yep,
and
walk away.
And then someone else goes, hey, I ordered a double what, and they go, okay, and they make another one for you.
They pretty much, do you know how many times they've given me a free drink just because they're like, you waited too long, and they give me a little coupon for a free Starbucks.
Yeah.
They bend over backward.
They don't care because you're already paying 500%. It's like in the movie theater gave out a free popcorn. It's like, yeah, thanks.
Are you kidding? That's more per ounce. We're talking gold, Jerry.
The other thing is we just read about that Pandora.
Trouble?
Panera.
Some sort of box?
The Panera. Dude, Pandora's bread factory.
We should make a Pandora that you go in and they give you different kinds of bread that they think you'll like.
What is in this box? Oh no, you have leashed upon us the evil. We cannot possibly put it back in the box. It is soup in a bread bowl with an apple next to it.
It's not evil. That's in fact one of the most important things the world has ever invented. It's the bread bowl.
They started these nonprofit Paneras where you can get anything and you pay what you want. So it's like, I would just pay $1 every time. I would be like, yeah, give me whole lunch, $1.
See, no, you're not thinking outside the box. The box. If I went to that Panera, maybe I should go to that Panera. I would order everything. Everything in the store. I'd say, I want everything. I'd take it all with me in a big sack, maybe a bunch of sacks. Maybe I'll get someone to help me.
I think they might say no to that.
Would they, though? Because as soon as they try to stop me, I'll say, well, I'm going to give this to a homeless person, and I plan to pay exactly what I want for it. Here's $1.
0.
1 penny.
1 penny.
You realize, I take my pants off every day when I get home, and money just falls out.
What does that have to do with Panera?
And you know how much more money falls out of my pockets?
I put that money in a jar. So
and the jar is full.
So I can then use it.
Actually, Emily's been yelling at me. She wants me to go cash in the jar.
Go cash it in.
The movers moved it here. It was too big for me to just carry on the train.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah, well, there is one more important bit of, meta kind of open-y bit news. For those of you who are unaware, I actually bought an Xbox. Basically, I bought a Street Fighter 4 machine.
You got more games for it than I do, actually.
Yeah, because the Xbox came with 2 games, so I have a total of
mine didn't
3.
come with games. Mine came with a rebate, so I basically...
Yeah, it's funny. You got a rebate.
I paid less money, but you got free games.
Yep, I paid the actual MSRP for the Elite, but then I got Grand Theft Auto, or not Grand Theft Auto. I got I think Forza something, and I got some Halo game. I haven't even opened the boxes for those yet.
Yeah.
I basically brought it home, turned it on, put in Street Fighter, plugged in my Street Fighter stick, and proceeded to realize that I suck at Street Fighter.
What are you going to do when you're bored of Street Fighter?
I don't know.
Regret spending so much money?
Use it as replace the Roku box?
I guess, but the Roku actually does more than the...
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I figure I will play enough games with the listeners and, I'll get... Basically, it's a way for me to interface with all the people and that whole gaming side of the world that I've basically ignored. Because, you and I are both PC gamers primarily. Like, that's where our gaming is. At least, that's where our video gaming is. And the Wii is only great when you have 4 people around reliably in the same physical place.
Someone should go and listen to an early Geeknights where it's just like, PC gaming is dead.
It is dead. What
Nintendo
games?
Wii, Nintendo DS, fuck the Xbox, fuck the PS3.
Yep, the thing is, back then, fuck the Xbox. You know what? Street Fighter 4 is why I bought the Xbox, and any other games I get now...
Street Fighter 4 was out a long time ago.
Super Street Fighter 4. Yeah, most of that just got it to interface with that whole other community, and I guess as at least a pretend journalist in the video game world, I need to at least have a PS3 or an Xbox.
I guess so. Anyway.
Plus, it's not like it costs that much money. I mean,
no. My laptop is in Kentucky. It says it's like warehoused until like someone checks it out, which I assume means customs.
Wait, customs? But didn't it come in through like Alaska?
Yeah, it came to Alaska first. They didn't check it in Alaska, even though it came from China. I don't know.
Well, maybe it came in and went out, and then the Alaska's like, oh shit, I think that was from China. They emailed Kentucky. They're like, hey, can you check
I'll
this thing
tell you
out
what
for
the exact text says. This shipment is warehoused until it is released by clearing agency.
Huh.
All right.
That's interesting. Maybe they accidentally sent you one of the weed laptops.
It says, status exception shipped to New York, shipped on the 14th. Product world ease.
Huh.
Service expedited. Special instructions, signature required.
All right, but video games.
Okay, video games.
You got some video game news?
Kind of. This isn't a big news. There's not really much to say about it. But remember we went to the New York Tokyo Music Festival a long time ago?
Oh my God. The whole memory of that night just flooded back into my head.
Right, but anyway, the New York Tokyo website, basically, I realized is a good place to like learn about events that are New York Tokyo related, usually in New York relating to Tokyo.
So that website's still there? Because I thought the festival like died not long after we went to it.
They got a lot more going. It wasn't, New York Tokyo was an organization. The music festival was just one event.
I think they tried to do it again the next year and we didn't go, and then that's probably why they canceled it.
Anyway, the thing is, they do lots of other stuff, right? Like they have a game night where they play Street Fighter 4 and such. And I think it might cost money and be 21 plus.
I'm not going to a game night where people play Street Fighter 4.
Plus, it would be all Asians and we would have no chance. We'd just be like, yeah, okay, let's play. Perfect. Not me.
Well, no, I think I would do just fine because I would consider it against people who are actually good at Street Fighter 4. If I get so much as a jab in, I consider it that I won.
You can get a jab.
Then I won, as far as I'm concerned.
No, any
match.
moron can get a jab. If you just jab like crazy, you're going to hit at some point.
I went playing online. There's some people, not a jab.
Really?
Yeah, T-Hawk is like, he just fucks me up right now.
T-Hawk's so easy to beat.
I know, but I'm not good at this game. What do you
just got to jab him like crazy.
Yeah, I was trying to do that. I'm working on my Ken, my Vega, my Dalsim, and my Guile.
Anyway, you got to pick just one otherwise to learn, because there's so many subtleties. You got to pick just one guy that you can learn all the subtleties. Otherwise, you're not gonna learn anyone deep enough to actually be good.
Well, basically, I got to pick one of those 4 as
but you do
my
have
main
to
guy.
play everyone at least a little bit so you know what they got.
Yeah, I mean, basically, of those 4, I'm playing them all like through the single player and a little bit online to figure out which of the 4 is going to be my go-to guy, like my number one guy. Because Dalsim, not cutting it like he did in Super Street Fighter 2.
Dalsim's pretty strong.
Seth
is pretty is very Dalsim-ish.
Dalsim's strong. It doesn't suit maybe it's just because I've been corrupted by like Soul Caliburs and all the other games I played for so long. But the style I got to use with Dalsim does not jive. I'm much more...
The style of anyone you got to use is nothing like Soul Calibur.
No, I'm not saying it's like Soul Calibur. I'm saying just it feels weird to me. I guess I need the guys with like charging moves more so than I need guys with like tech moves.
Anyway, so on their website, this little announcement here that says UTXMGS:PW, which translates to... Uniqlo UT T-shirt program.
Whoa. Uniqlo t-shirt.
What are you so excited? You're getting excited at the wrong part.
I like Uniqlo t-shirts.
They have Metal Gear T-shirts. And they have Metal Gear Peace Walker T-shirts. And it says Kojima will be at Uniqlo on June 11th. That's it.
Whoa. That's interesting.
That's it.
Maybe I've got my NES cartridge.
I just be like, hey, Kojima, your NES. He'll be like, fuck that
Metal
game.
Gear 1, I'll give it to him and be like,
he'd be like, I didn't make that. What is this?
What I would say to him is I would present it to him and say, you can either sign this or destroy it in front of my eyes, and I'll be happy with either one.
Right.
I apologize on behalf of my nation for this.
The point is you know.
Oh no, the Kojima have started to move.
I kind of want to go and be like, hey, yeah, your games, I don't like them.
No, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. Ask him if he actually, in fact, is Masamune Shiro.
Hey, do you know Masamune Shiro? Yeah, are you him?
There's a chance they're the same person.
I don't know. He can't. I don't think Kojima can draw.
Yeah, but he can crazy.
They can both crazy. They're equal in the crazy town.
So you know all that news about how Farmville is like the biggest game at... Well, I got to qualify this because I don't think it's actually a game, but I don't want to get into that. I don't want to talk about Farmville, the game. I want to talk about all the money meta around Farmville.
All right.
Because Farmville has been making the news, like the mainstream news, for being gigantic. Like millions and millions and millions and millions of players. It's like the biggest game ever.
Yeah.
Gaming.
It's one of those situations where they're counting the same way that like Second Life is counting. It's like, yeah, okay, active people, whatever, BS. It's one person with 20 accounts. You're full of shit.
And all the news so far has primarily talked about how big the game is now. It's only getting bigger and how everyone's mom is playing it. And
my mom's playing it.
It looks like there's a strange trend. As of about a month ago, they claim, here, I'll read from the Kotaku article. Zynga's losing subscribers, whatever. 2 weeks ago, Zynga lost 3.1 million active users across all their games. Last week alone, they lost 4.2 million.
Yep.
I cannot
But the thing
believe...
is, they have so many millions.
Well, so many millions of accounts that have ever been touched by anyone.
Yeah.
But, so what's going on? Why are all their games suddenly collapsing? Well, it turns out that the only people who play these games are people who do it because they're Pavlovian. They play because they're spammed into playing. They don't actually like these games. They play because they get a notification that says, hey, farm something, mafia something, click here to make the thing happen.
Yeah, and I used to think that the notifications in those games were just to get you into them. It would be like, you would go into Facebook and you'd see all your friends would be like, farm. So then you would sign up for the farm and then you would be addicted to the farm. But the thing is not how it works. It's actually, you sign into Facebook and it notifies you, hey, fix your farm. Notify you, hey, fix your farm. And basically, if you don't get these notifications that constantly remind you to fix your farm, people aren't signing in to go fix their farm. They're not like intentionally clicking on Farmville. They're just waiting for notifications that tell them, hey, you have to do this. And that's why they're doing it, because someone tells them to. It's like they get a task and the task manager, a letter comes in the inbox and they have to handle the letter out of the inbox and put it in the outbox. But if nothing comes in the inbox and they're required to actually go to Farmville of their own initiative, they just don't do it.
Because it's not a game. There's not by like 4 different definitions of game. Farmville does not meet the requirements to be called a game. I guess the only one it meets is the loosest one of any sort of enjoyable pastime.
I don't think it's enjoyable.
Shit.
It's just a pastime. It is an activity.
The losses are being attributed pretty much straight up to the fact that Facebook changed the way it handles their gift requests, and they eliminated the notifications that Zynga was using to basically advertise their game to people who were
to
already
remind
playing.
people to keep playing.
Basically, yeah.
The advertising part, I don't think has changed. Just the reminding people to that they're already playing. They're not constantly reminded to continue playing, so they don't.
It says a lot about who is playing these games and
why and for what reasons.
Yep.
And
I would posit that it's really kind of the modern advertising equivalent of a Ponzi scheme where they make something that tricks people into clicking on things and then they misuse statistics to prove to other people who also don't understand statistics, we've got 10.6 trillion people playing this game. Advertise with us.
Yeah, right.
And it's just this gigantic scam from start to finish. They're making
Everything's
up
a
people.
gigantic scam.
Not everything.
Almost
Geeknights,
everything.
we provide exactly what we say we're going to
Yeah,
provide.
which is why no one gives us any money, because our numbers are legit. They're not inflated.
I point out at least a few people have tried to give us money. We just don't want
They didn't
it.
give us enough money.
Yeah. People try to give us money. They don't give us money we care
They want to
about.
give us like $5.
Yeah. Or those advertisers who keep like, hey, we want to advertise.
They want to
on
give us. They want to give
Geeknights.
us $10.
Maybe 11 if we give them like a 20-minute ad in the middle.
That's not happening.
But there's other weird news on Farmville, and this is why I think this is interesting. Facebook's changes that basically wrecked Zynga's games, probably, this is just me speculating, might have had to do with the fact that Facebook and Farmville were kind of fighting with each other over this whole Facebook dollars or Facebook currency system. Facebook credits, they're called, which is kind of like this currency in Facebook for microtransactions.
All right, I didn't even know they existed.
I had no idea either, but apparently what the deal is that in Mafia Wars and Farmville and all these bullshit Zynga quote-unquote games, why do people say quote-unquote and then the word? Shouldn't they say quote games unquote? Why am I just opening and closing quotes like in the middle of my... Anyway. So basically, Facebook will facilitate these microtransactions for these games when you buy your bullshit, like, you have 4 more points to spend on Mafia-ing in the city, in the proper noun. And then Facebook gets a 30% cut of the money that changes hands through these transactions.
Mm-hmm. Is this real money or just like Warcraft gold?
It's Warcraft gold, but I think you can buy it for money. I haven't dug into that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hints here that there were rumors, at least, that Zynga was thinking about with Farmville, trying to make Farmville a standalone portal and get people to just go into that, which, at least from that other article, wouldn't work at all. No one's going to go to Farmville if Farmville is Farmville by itself. They only go because their Facebook friends force them to.
But there's also people who are only on Facebook to get Farmville. It's like they're tied together, you know? There's people who are on Facebook, but they're not there for Farmville. There's people there for Farmville, but they're not there for Facebook.
We'd have to know how many, like what percentages, and I have no way to know that.
I think the thing is, by joining together, right, they're basically this symbiote where, you know, the people who are only interested in Farmville are upping Facebook's numbers, and the people who are only interested in Facebook and are getting pestered by Farmville are upping Farmville's numbers. So they up each other's numbers by combining these two really powerful things. It's like, imagine there are 2 TV stations, and they just merged, right? So now they basically both have double ratings. That's basically what it is. You know, the people who would have watched, show A and people watching show B are now watching both shows. So now, you know, one show had 1 million viewers, the other show had 1 million viewers. Now they both have 2 million viewers. I mean, it's totally cheating.
One thing I would say to all of you out there, if you care at all about the video game industry, any of the news and numbers about Zynga and all this, I don't think it's actually the game. I don't think gaming has anything to do with this whole, Facebook, Zynga, whatever. They're not games and they're not made for gamers. They're this wholly separate industry that's basically create a psychological trap to trick eyeballs and then sell those eyeballs to advertisers. At least World of Warcraft is technically a game.
It's more of a game than Farmville.
And there's
it's not much more, but it's more.
No, but to its credit, there's stuff in there to do. If you like that sort of thing, you can play it. And they're still selling the game. They're selling the carrot stick machine directly to the user. They're not using the carrot stick machine to trick a user in and then sell him to someone else.
Yeah, I guess World of Warcraft doesn't message you and it's like, hey, you didn't finish this quest.
I mean,
hey, you need to level up today, dude.
It's the difference between an HBO series versus a regular broadcast TV series. Broadcast TV, the TV show is not the product, and the watchers, the viewers, are not the consumer. The product is the viewers, and the consumer is the advertisers. And Zynga games are basically the same thing with the added revenue stream of microtransactions. So they're basically selling the people that they trick in with the machine. World of Warcraft, they sell them the machine. So it's basically Soma.
Yeah, but
a watered down, shitty version of Soma.
But the thing is, Farmville does make a lot of money from tricking people into just buying like plows and also getting people to do stupid offer shit.
But think if they do it through Facebook with the Facebook currency, then the people they'll be able to give them currency for dollars. They'll also be able to give them currency through other Facebook things if Facebook wanted to do that. So they could basically direct these eyeballs in all sorts of different directions. Like, hey, click on this ad, follow this, listen to this guy's updates, and we'll give you X Facebook credits. I don't know if they'll do that, but that's what I would do.
Yeah.
For India. All right. Things of the day.
Oh, you actually put that in the show?
Yeah.
Why are you so corny? Are you Stan Lee now?
I am now talking into the microphone.
You little guy. So, I always get bothered because they put out these lists of what anime are out this season. And the thing is, those lists never include the ongoing anime, right?
Sazai-san, Doraemon.
You don't see One Piece on that list, right? Because One Piece is always on. It just always is, right? And the result of that,
and always will be.
Yes, the result of that is that there's a lot of shows, basically like the Simpsons equivalents in Japan, the shows that never end. They just keep going and going. And anime fans in the U.S. don't hear about them because no one's fan subs them, no one talks about them, nobody, they're just always there. So one of those shows is Doraemon, which, is a kid's show. It's for little kids, but it's a lot better than a lot of the kids shows we have here.
Good God.
I mean, it's basically like the SpongeBob of the Asia, but it's a lot 10 million times better than SpongeBob because SpongeBob is retarded, like the character, he's a retard. Doraemon is like a really smart dude who always brings out wicked awesome gadgets and shit to save the day.
To this day,
also fuck up the day.
I understand
the Hat a little bit, but
I mean, I understand the appeal
science
of Venture Brothers and all those things. Most comedy, I understand the appeal of, but I would rather watch the bad Three Stooges than watch SpongeBob. I just can't deal with it.
But anyway, Doraemon is pretty cool. I mean, it's a kid's show that you can probably watch and tolerate and not just kill yourself. And it's also a manga. But anyway, somebody took the Doraemon theme song, a very famous theme song.
Yep.
And they recreated the entire song using only sound effects from Street Fighter 2.
It's pretty amazing.
And they even have the video from Street Fighter 2 to go with the sound effects.
For India.
And this got posted all over the internet because it's pretty cool in and of itself, but a lot of people who watched it didn't realize that it was the Doraemon theme, or if they did, they didn't know what Doraemon was. So.
What was funny, I had Yuko, Ananth, and Conrad and John were all hanging out over the weekend, and I showed that to them, and immediately Yuko was like, Doraemon.
Yep. He knows what it is.
Yep.
The people, they don't know.
Well, now they know. So, along the lines of a video game related thing of the day that is also on College Humor, I have another video game related thing of the day that much like Scott's.
Can you please look at a different website?
Yours is also on College Humor.
I saw it before it was on College Humor. Curse them. Curse them.
They're pretty much, I'll let you all in on the secret once again. I skip a lot of them because I try to avoid going back to College Humor as my go-to place for things of the day, but there is at least one good video worth watching on the internet every day on College Humor. That's the best video aggregator on the entire internet right now.
That I have found.
Yes. If you know of a better one, let me know. And if you say dig, you're a damn dirty liar. So this is 8-bit StarCraft. I think what does this for me...
This was also on every other website before it was on College Humor, so it's okay.
The graphics and
I'll just link to a non-College Humor source.
Work out really well. I think you should link to the College Humor. We got to let them know that it's us driving all this traffic to them.
Oh, so much traffic.
Because they need so many hits from us.
It's such a flood of traffic we're sending. Holy shit. Oh, it's unbelievable. All right.
Wow. Actually, now that I never really look at I never look at the stuff on College Humor except for the video. If I scroll down, though... You know what's at the top of recommended videos you'll like right under this? Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I think what does it for me in this video is the sound that the little Marines make when they're running.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess we should do the meta moment.
Oh, fuck. Meta moment.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Book Club is Cosmos. We're going to do the show soon, so read the book.
Probably not this Thursday, but the Thursday episode after that is probably going to be it.
Yep.
After all this time, multiple months of not doing the book club.
Which means you have no goddamn excuse.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even start reading it, but I got a copy, and I'm going to start reading it real soon, and I'll have it finished that quickly.
Yep.
So.
The Geeknights Coding Club is still Project Dorf. It'll probably be that for a while.
I got to do some stuff on that there. I've been doing some other stuff.
Yeah, I got to jump in on it. My Java developing.
There'll probably be a
lately.
huge flood of stuff this weekend because I'll get the new laptop and I'll set the shit up. And it'll be awesome.
Yeah. I'm not going to do anything until after Kineticon is completely until I send the schedule to print for Kineticon. I'm not going to work on Project Dorf at all.
we have any other meta-ness?
Nah, we're doing the live streaming shows. You can watch those if you want. They're nothing special. You just see what we look like, looking into our microphones.
Yep, just go to here's a secret. If you go to frontrowcrew.com, which I'm going to start doing some more work on pretty soon, the Ustream is embedded in the front page. So you can just go there and sort of, if you know what day of the week it is, just, around 6, 7-ish, just wait, and eventually, probably 6-ish you want to start watching. 6 p.m. Eastern. Just wait, and eventually it'll be like, ta-da, live now, and you push play, and you'll be all set.
Yep. Now, also, bit by bit, we're going to start doing our, I guess, proper video shows where we'll actually be looking at the camera. There'll be video content as the primary thing, as opposed to audio that we happen to be filming ourselves doing. I mean, this Ustream is basically like watching Howard Stern do his show. It's just, guys, microphones, pop filter.
Yeah, the thing is, I hope that it gets us some exposure, because if we get enough viewers that are simultaneous, then we'll get on the front page of Ustream, and then we'll get viewers that weren't coming for us specifically. They're just coming to Ustream, and they see us there, and then they discover Geeknights, right?
Thing is, the way to do that really for us, meta, is to do actual straight up video shows. Because remember how many people we had when we scheduled ahead of time a video show? We
was like, we had like over 100 people. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, especially considering the short notice we gave on that one. I mean, plus that got us on the front page of Ustream, which proceeded to fill the channel with basically the most vile shitcockery I've seen.
That's all right, because the new Ustream now has better shitcockery protections.
Yep, it's almost too good.
Yeah, it is. It's a little too strong.
Scott and I, we pride ourselves in being very good gamers at certain things, like German board games.
We have mad skills at many things. We don't have we have good FPS skills, but we're not exactly, we're fatality level.
Yeah, we're not like clanning it up in the Quake 3 arena or anything, but we're solid. Like Counter-Strike, we were some of the better players than the RIT servers back in the day.
Yeah.
And like German board games, you've got no chance against us unless you're I mean, it's sad when we go to like all these board game meetups and we basically just wreck everybody all the time.
The thing is, despite our high level of skill at many kinds of games,
which point out confirmation bias, we talk about the games we're good at a lot. Yeah. So it might seem like we're full of ourselves.
But there are many kinds of games that we are no good at.
Chief among them,
Chief among the kinds of games we suck at are fighting games, though the skills are improving.
Yep.
And most of all, real-time strategy games.
And fanatical devotion to the Pope.
We're just the worst. I mean, real-time strategy, I just fucking, back in the day, I would play StarCraft 1 against the computer, right?
I couldn't even beat the computer. I would just lose.
I would just do a skirmish. It was just straight up like Terran versus Zerg, computers controlling the Zergs, right? I would start building a base. A wave of little Zergs would come, like 10 of them, maybe.
And at the end
probably less than 10. Most of the time, that little tiny wave would kill me. Now, sometimes what I would do is I would go, okay, I know that little wave is going to come right away. It happens every time. And I would rush to build a barracks and some Marines so that I could hold it off. And it would work. I would hold off that little wave, right? And then I would keep going and going and going. And the second wave would come with like freaking big ass Zergs and I'd still have that little bunch of Marines. And no matter how hard I tried to build more guys, it wouldn't mean anything, and I would just get hosed.
Command and Conquer was the first one I really played hardcore.
Oh, really? I played Warcraft 1.
Well, Command and Conquer was the first.
What was the first? I mean, I usually tend to think that the first real-time strategy was Warcraft 1, but I mean, Metal Marines was sort of a real-time strategy, and wasn't it that Dune game for the PC that was sort of a real-time strategy? Was that older? I'm not sure which one came first. I don't think it really matters.
I tried to just type RTS into Wikipedia, and real-time strategy game is not the first thing that comes up. The first thing that comes up is Rape Trauma System.
That's fantastic.
That's just great.
Great.
All right,
Why did you even bring
precursors
that
and
up?
early Genesis. Here Rim goes to Wikipedia. Herzog's Way for the Sega Genesis 1989 is the earliest example of a game that falls under the contemporary definition of a modern RTS.
Really? Herzog's Way? I've heard of that game.
Yeah, 1989.
But I thought it was like a space shooter. I guess I was totally wrong.
You control only
I never
one
played
unit.
it. Doesn't that sound like the name of a space shooter to you?
That totally sounds like a space shooter.
Herzog's Way? That's definitely a space shooter name. Okay, so yeah, Dune 2, the building of a dynasty, right? So I was right. And then Warcraft in 94 was like the first one that was like for reals. And then Command and Conquer, and then...
Well, quote from Wikipedia, Command and Conquer became the first popular RTS.
Yeah. Warcraft 1 was really popular.
It was. No, but the thing is, Command and Conquer was the first one that I wanted to be good at. Like, I was like, you know what? And I've said this many times in my life about many things, like Smash Brothers. I am going to put forth the effort it will take to be good at this game. And I could not beat either campaign in that game or Red Alert.
Really?
And furthermore, when I play it online, I just got hosed.
See, I could actually beat the campaign in Warcraft 1. I could beat the campaign in Warcraft 2. I just never owned it. Man, it's got to be cheap to get that game now, right? I should be able to
There's
got to
be a Steam pack or something.
I mean, Warcraft 2 is good. Well, no Blizzard stuff is on Steam. They roll their own. But then Command and Conquer, I was able to beat. Command and Conquer Red Alert, I beat, on single player. But playing multiplayer, like I played multiplayer Warcraft 1 and 2, but I played against like people I could dial up with, so it was sort of evenish. When it wasn't until I tried to play Red Alert dialing up against someone I knew that I learned just how much I sucked. Because basically, they were playing Red Alert. I was the Allies. They were the Soviets, right? This was the first Red Alert on DOS. We dialed into each other. The game totally worked. And we were playing. And then eventually I used the spy plane to see what they had. And basically their base was so packed with tanks that nothing could move. And they just had like tanks like just spilling out, completely filling their area.
And then at some point those tanks started moving?
And yeah, at some point they just selected all and clicked on my base.
Roll, tanks, roll.
And I had like a handful of dudes. And it's like, what the hell?
Of course, Scott, to be fair, you have the same problem in turn-based strategy games.
But not to that extent. It's a completely different situation.
Well, my problem really was that I wasn't so good at the campaigns, but the campaigns were often not fun, at least in those early RTSs.
I like the campaigns. Like in Warcraft 1, you get the campaign where like you got the one guy, he's like the famous guy, and you got to protect him while you walk through the dungeon. It's sort of like a real-time dungeon crawly bit, almost like a hero quest where you don't have to wait and take turns.
I've always really only played games like this, or any game like this, just to get to the multiplayer. And what really messed me up was that the multiplayer, dial-up, I only played with people that we dial into each other's modems and play like Command and Conquer 1.
I never played the multiplayers, real RTSs for real, like that much at all, ever, until very, very recently.
But we were all stupid. It's kind of like, imagine if you saw a bunch of people playing like tag, but they all just like sucked at tag. Like no one tried to tag back.
But usually, like, okay, so we all play like a German board game against each other, and we all don't know how to play it at all. And we keep playing, and we keep playing, and keep playing. We get better, and we learn things about the game.
And I do that now with RTSs too, but when I was a kid, with video games, for some reason, sometimes I just wouldn't do that. Like there were some video games when I was very young that I just never got better at. And now that I'm older and I like play a game like that again, I get better because I try to get better.
The thing is with RTSs, it's like I try to get better, and no amount of effort that I put into it just on my own. Like if I just sit there playing an RTS against the computer over and over and over again, I just can't get better. I need someone to like tell me. Like I was playing StarCraft too because I got the beta key because I pre-ordered on Amazon, right? Just because I'm in this phase where I want to try to play games that I suck at and get better at them on purpose to see if I can, and for a change of pace in terms of the games I'm playing. So they give you like these 5 practice games, and then they give you like these 5 games where it determines like your league ranking or whatever. And I'm of course in the worst possible league, though I'm not in last place in the worst possible league.
That's a start.
Yeah.
You're beating guy who logs in and then
beating
doesn't
guy who's even worse than me by a little bit.
You're beating like guy whose mouse stopped working.
And the thing is, I won some of those games, but they were against people who were just as bad as me. And the thing was, the reason I was able to win it all is because the first guy I played against actually talked to me, and he actually helped me out. And he was like, dude, you are not building nearly enough of the basic resource getting guy. You need to build like a shit ton of them. And I was like, well, how many? He's like, for each pile of rocks, build like 3. And for each, little gas factory, build 3. So what I did is the next time I played, I just built a ton of those guys. And the thing was, it was really hard to build a ton of those guys and to also build the stuff. And I'm still doing it really shittily, but at least I'm not doing it so shittily that they come over with a huge army and I have nothing. I have something, that gets destroyed. And, so when I played against people who were, actually good, I still had basically no chance. But when I played against, people who were just as shitty as I was, it was like, sometimes it was even. And once I even defended and then came back and destroyed the other guy. And of course, this is playing against people of equal skill. And I think what it is that they have a system set up to where you don't play against people who are way better or way worse than you.
But it'll still mix it up. I think part of my problem was that back in the old days, with the modems, you had this kind of closed ecosystem of your friends. Like, you see this with things like air hockey, where like one guy and a group of friends can get good, but no one, like the group doesn't get to the next echelon. With Command and Conquer, especially in games like it, we would always end up just playing these really dumb strategies that were fun, because the fun part for me was like building a gigantic base.
That is, I think that ActRaiser is like the best thing to look at in terms of how I feel about RTSs. Like if you could just give me an RTS and it was only single player, it's so fun because it's like, well, I'll just build a base, which is totally fun, right? And then building all these units is totally fun. And then, like the actual ordering of the units is not really that fun. It's really actually kind of boring. And I wish I wouldn't have that part of the game at all.
Well, you mean the part of the game where you play a shitty side scroller to get back to the fun farming game?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it's weird that like me and all my friends, at least when I was young, playing this game over a modem, all felt the same way. We'd always play kind of a gentleman's agreement where we would just build a big base
Nobody
first.
attack each other so we can have lots of fun building bases, and then we'll attack each other.
It was basically
once we built our bases 100% completely.
See, the trouble was it was basically sim base, because we'd build the bases and like a half hour went by, and then we'd finally decide to fight. And usually around then is when like one of the modems would crap out and the game would break.
Yeah. The thing that bothers me is that like as I'm playing StarCraft a little bit more, not that much, I'm still busy with other things, but a little bit more, I'm learning all these things that people do. Like what they'll do is they'll send one of those nothing guys over to your base right away. And if you don't build like a Marine or something right away, it'll walk in and take a look at your base. And there's like nothing you can do about it. So it's like, oh, fuck, get the hell out of here. You get this thing pestering you and looking around, and they can see all your shit. And it's like, and they can see how far along you are and everything. And it's like, Well,
you know what that is? That's the equivalent of tapping the prodigal sorcerer.
But there's all this kind of like stupid little, tricks like that are just like really annoying. And they have nothing to do with military strategy.
I wouldn't
say... They have nothing to,
See, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily stupid. It's that we have this problem that RTS has become this very defined genre among most people. And I feel like it's kind of like MMOs. When people like MMO, they think of games like World of Warcraft. But an MMO could be, any sort of massive game. We need more real-time strategy games that have vastly different paradigms from the StarCraft-style click sequence games that we have now. I think those games are good. I just think I would like other kinds of RTSs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we've talked about this game on the show. There's a game called Metal Marines. I would recommend it was for Windows 3.1.
It's not actually that good of a game because it wasn't.
I think it was a great game.
Right. Round 1, awesome. Round 2, pretty fun. The rest of the game, horrifying and tedious because it was poorly designed.
No, but I mean, it's for this. Get it. The best way to play is to get it for a Super Nintendo or a Super Nintendo emulator.
Just play the first 2 missions to see what we're talking about.
And you'll see it is a real-time strategy game, but it is not anything like StarCraft. I mean, you do build a base and you do build units and you attack, but the way you control the units and the way you build the things is not like StarCraft at all. It's barely like it. And but it is still a game that is real time and has strategy. So I think that's the thing. It's like I want a game that is real time and has strategy, because a non-real time game, that's good. I like my turn-based games like the Wesnoth and the Advanced Wars and such. But they take a long time, and you spend all this time doing nothing when it's the other person's turn. So if it's real time, it'd be better. The problem is when it's real time, it's all about who can go really fast with the clicking and not who can, so it's like, even if I can think in my brain, strategy.
But implementation is part of the skill of a game like this. Like that, I mean, Street Fighter, all right, let's pause it. I'm going to do a Shoryuken, and then I'm going to do this, and then I've got to pause and change this thing before we take our next turn.
No, but it's more that, okay, if it's a strategy game, right? I mean, Street Fighter is a fighting game. It's about fighting. And the speed is...
Well, no, this is what I'm saying. We've conflated, like, RTS, real-time strategy, became this very narrow genre.
Yep. But it's like... the ideal game should be about your strategic decisions. Even though it's real time, it should just be about the decision you make. Did you make the good decision or the bad decision? So here's the thing, right? So my decision is a good strategic decision might be like, okay, I'm going to have the tanks, flank, and I'm going to send in some planes as a decoy to distract your anti-ground planes, and then I'm going to rush in with these guys from the south. And that's my strategy. Well, so I click and I say, tanks do this. I say, tanks go here, planes go here, units go here. And they do it. But they just go like in a straight line and it totally doesn't work. I have to go to like each unit and be like, click, move 2 feet this way, click, move 2 feet that way, click, you move here, you click, and constantly click crazily.
That was what really got
to
me.
control each individual unit as if I'm playing a game of control the single individual unit and control all of them like that.
Like in Command and Conquer, I used to always try to like make a strategy like that, an ambush or whatever. And then I watched a good player playing, and he basically just selected all his tanks and clicked on the enemy base.
No, I watch guys like play like StarCraft or even like, the Heroes of New Earth type of games, which are basically real, the same kind of thing. And they basically click like nuts. They're like, move to the left, move to the right, move up, move down, attack that guy once, back up, attack that guy once, back up. It's like, that's not strategy if I have to control each and every limb of each and every unit, right? That's a much lower level interaction. That's like even more lower level than an FPS where I'm controlling the aim and movement of one individual unit. That is enough to occupy an entire human brain, right? If I have to do it for an entire army, fuck that, right? If I'm controlling an entire army, the extent to which I should have to interact with that army is you do this, done. You 10 guys, attack base. That. You shouldn't have to control them any more than that. And
Actually,
they should do it as best as it possibly can be done.
Another style of RTS that I've been playing again a lot and then stopped playing again there are the games like Medieval Total War where you have like the real-timeness of an army battle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much more, on the surface strategic like that. But as far as I can see, almost everyone who actually plays these games skips that part and plays the shitty turn-based game that is kind of just around the real-time part of the game.
Yeah, I don't even know why. I mean, if you look at the previews for all those Total War games, I played the demo of the first one in like the late 90s.
I bought like all of them on Steam for cheap.
Really? Wow. Yeah, so the thing is, you look at the demos for those games, they always show you the big battles with tons of units.
And that's
right?
what I want. That's what I play, but as far as you win every battle if you have more guys than the other guy by just clicking on all your guys and saying attack.
Yeah, they didn't actually implement the strategy part. They only implemented the graphics part of those battles.
Well, even worse, what got me is that the stupidest meta strategies work just because the games are so poor.
The games are so rock, paper, scissors. It's like, just use the archers against those guys and you win.
Well, the AI is so shitty that I can do tricks like have my guys start with advance, pull back, advance, pull back, advance, pull back, advance, pull back, and like trick an enemy unit into not moving while the horses just walk around behind him and then charge.
Yep.
Like that, none of that would really work, and it's just kind of silly and fiddly.
Yeah, it's not implemented really well at all.
What would make RTSs that I want great, and this is why Natural Selection is such a great game to me. Mm-hmm. It's for one player at least. It's an RTS where every single unit you control has a human level AI because it's an actual human. But in a game like Command and Conquer, like imagine if you could give units more meta orders. Like you give them a zone. Like say you draw a zone on the map and say, control this zone, or protect this zone, or bombard this zone. And you give them orders and simple macros and then let them go.
Well, I think that's the one thing that you can do to help RTSs out, right? Is right now, let's say I'm playing StarCraft, right? And I've got something that drops bombs. I click on a spot and it drops the bombs on that spot exactly, right?
Now, there's a valid place for a game like that.
The thing is, what they should do is they should make the RTS, right? Like, look at that 8-bit StarCraft video, right? That's how it should be. Break the map up into sort of a grid that doesn't have that many squares in it, just a few areas. Then I would say, hey, you, bomb this area. And then the guy would do a bombing run in that area. And I could give a lot more general orders because I don't have to, pick individual spots. I can say, okay, we're going to send 20 infantry to this square on the map and 30 tanks to that square on the map. And we're going to, defend this square on the map. And
I wouldn't say because you don't want to change StarCraft like that. StarCraft is a genre.
Who says it has to be StarCraft?
Yeah, I mean, StarCraft is a genre in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be StarCraft. I just said it should be an RTS. It would be better if instead of clicking individual point XY coordinates on the map, you had this sort of lower resolution grid that's, has not that many squares, like maybe like a 10 by 10 grid, and that's the whole map. And it's all about, controlling the different squares on the map. And it's really easy to give orders when the only positioning that goes on is which one of the 100 squares are you clicking on.
Yep. Or even if you don't have the squares, I do like the idea of having an RTS where you
Well,
can.
I think it would have to be hexes too.
Well, where you can draw an area on the map, like so you have to you're examining the terrain, looking at features, and you can draw areas. You basically define your zones and define zones of control and bombardment and all the kind of. I guess
the only thing with that, right, is like maybe that would be cool on like an iPad kind of thing.
Oh yeah, mouse drawing.
Yeah, but if you're trying to draw with the mouse or something, right, the amount of time that you could have spent drawing your little area, right, you could have clicked on your base a whole bunch and built a whole bunch of buildings and units and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess part of it's that if we really break this down to its root, most of the RTSs out today are aimed, it's kind of like fighting games, like they're aimed at a certain kind of gamer. And there's so many other possibilities in RTSs that either aren't possible due to technological limitations of things like AI and aren't possible because no one with resources is experimenting in the genre that much. Supreme Commander did a lot of cool stuff.
Well, there's that Ruse game that's experimenting, but like it's a little bit better because you don't have to click on the exact positions as much, and the map is a little different, and it's got some sort of interesting things. Like you can send out fake stuff. And, you know, the thing is, the game was still, I played it, and it's like, okay, there's some good ideas in here, but the implementation really isn't polished and 100% enough, and there's way too much going on, and there's I got to talk about something just in general here, right?
Nah.
People making betas of games and such, right? If you're making a video game that's big, the tutorial is the first thing that you should make. I got the StarCraft 2 beta, no fucking tutorial. Right?
It's a beta. The only people playing the beta are people who already know about StarCraft.
It doesn't matter. The tutorial is the first thing you make. If they don't want noobs playing it, why do they have practice mode in it?
Why make the tutorial if you're going to probably have to change it as you change things from the beta?
The same reason that you're making software, you make tests for things, even though you have to change the tests.
I think the tutorial should be a part of beta testing, but I think it should be part of the end of beta testing.
I think the tutorial should be the first thing that you make because basically a game without a tutorial is basically useless. And also, if you don't have a tutorial, you at least need a fucking instruction book. There's no instructions.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can't find them.
100% sure.
I cannot find any help whatsoever. Right, in StarCraft 2. I basically had to learn by trial and error.
All right, you'll look pretty funny if some listener emails it
If
to
someone
us.
knows what the manual is, feel free to send it to me, but I have not found it. I have poked every menu.
I disagree with the methodology if you're at the point of just beta testing. I mean, beta testing is really...
So I make a little board game, right? I'm making a brand new board game, and I give it to some people to test. I'm not there. Right, to help them. And I didn't put any instructions in there.
No, I'm saying you give them like a basic instruction or rule, but
there's nothing in there. Nothing.
I'm just talking about the tutorial part. I think the idea of saying that the tutorial should be finished before you release the beta is ludicrous.
It doesn't have to be finished, but you got to have it in there.
I don't think you do.
The tutorial is the first thing you need.
I disagree. I think
otherwise your game is basically unplayable.
Apparently it's not because plenty of people are beta testing StarCraft just fine.
Yeah, people are nuts. I don't even know what half the shit does. And there's no way to play single player at all. It's multiplayer only.
Yeah.
So the only way I can figure to learn what anything does is basically to lose while experimenting with some weird thing I don't know what it does.
Well, if you don't want an unfinished game, you should probably just not play in the beta and wait for the real game to come out.
It doesn't matter. They need that shit in there.
Why? StarCraft is going to sell like crazy. They don't need that.
What
would it do for them? What would it do for anyone but you? No one cares.
There are plenty of noobs out there, trust me, who would very much like a tutorial.
But they're going to buy the game anyway. There's no.
Well, they already bought the game. It doesn't. But
don't. They already bought the game.
Think about it. They would sell a lot more if they had a tutorial.
I highly doubt having a tutorial in the beta that you only get into if you were an alpha tester or if you bought the game already is somehow going to cause more people to buy the game.
Okay, here, take this example, right? Okay, so look at, say, Heroes of Newerth, right? The beta did not have a tutorial. If the beta had a proper tutorial that actually taught you
because the purpose of the beta test is not... I mean, some people conflate it. Some people use the beta test when they're making a game also as a marketing tool to get the word out and to get newbies in.
Mm-hmm.
But the primary purpose of a beta test is still to make sure game mechanics work and to test basic functionality.
Yes, okay, so if you have a tutorial and someone actually knows how your game is supposed to work, then they'll actually be able to tell you when something's not working.
Yeah, and you make
someone who has no idea what the fuck, if it's even broken or doesn't know how to play, will be incapable of telling you what's working and what doesn't work. You need to teach them how it's supposed to be in order for them to tell you if it's not correct.
It depends on what kind of beta testing you're doing and what you're looking for. And you also, part of the thing is watch how people play, see what trouble they have, and then use that to tailor the tutorial.
You can't watch how people play, though. All they can do is send in bug reports. They don't have the only people they watch play are the physical testers that are there at their offices.
Yeah, and they probably did a lot of that testing there. They don't need this extra feedback. I don't think the tutorial is that high on the priority list for a beta.
Is the number one thing, period,
but Scott,
for any
plus,
game.
Heroes of Newerth, that is a game aimed at people who already played Dota and noobs, but you don't really aim a beta at noobs unless you're doing a very specific marketing strategy. You aim the finished product at the noobs.
But think about this: if they had the beta aimed at the noobs, and they actually gave a tutorial to the noobs, right? The noobs would not be. Plus, that was even worse, right, than the StarCraft one because that was a free beta. Right? So you get these people, they're playing this free beta, which is basically even better than a demo.
Yeah, Scott,
then because you didn't give them a tutorial, they turned away and they're just like, oh, fuck this,
Scott,
and then they don't buy it.
Here's the problem. Heroes of Newerth is a terrible example because it was aimed at a specific group of people.
So someone gets the StarCraft
Scott,
beta for free.
Scott, it was also handled horribly and is a horrible game with a horrible community.
So someone gets the StarCraft demo for the beta for free.
Who got it for free?
Some noob.
Why would they get it for free?
Because you can just sign up and get it.
Yeah.
So he signs up, he gets in the StarCraft 2 beta.
All right.
There's no tutorial and there's no help. And now he doesn't know how to play. He plays, he just gets his ass kicked. He doesn't know what's going on. He says, oh, fuck this, and now he never buys it. Whereas if you had given him a tutorial, he would have learned the game, maybe learned to like it, and eventually bought it.
But at the same time, they're going to make so many sales from people who will buy the game anyway that it's probably not worth it to spend the early resources.
Are they going to make a tutorial anyway?
Probably.
Then you should make it first.
I think that's stupid. You might make fundamental changes to the game in the course of development.
So you change a tutorial.
Why waste the effort? I think you're vastly overestimating the value of a tutorial.
I think you're vastly underestimating the value of a tutorial,
especially in a closed beta. You shouldn't be giving noobs your beta unless you're beta testing the experience of completely, unknowing.
That's the number one people you should be getting the experience of is the noobs. Who, if Nintendo has proved anything, it's that appealing to the noobs and the people who don't know what the fuck they're doing gets you 10 billion times more sales than appealing to the nerds.
You're taking such a stupidly simplistic view of the game development process. The aspect of how do you teach a new player to play? What's the tutorial? What's the learning curve in the beginning? All that stuff you track and test separately from basic beta testing like bugs and multiplayer and game balance. So I don't think there's any reason to prioritize the former over the latter, because if the latter fails, the game fails no matter what. If the former fails, at most you lose the one or two people who got into the beta.
The people who come in, I think you're underestimating how many noobs are in the beta. I think you're overestimating the number of highly skilled people, right? And the other,
it depends on the game. For one, StarCraft is going to sell to so many people.
If a game is not complicated enough. Right.
Scott, StarCraft could have no instructions and no tutorial when it really releases and still make tons of money and sell to almost everyone.
It sell a pittance compared to something like World of Warcraft, right? Which they probably make a bajillion times more money on because it's easy and the tutorial and any moron can play it, right? That is what the game Farmville, any moron can play it. This tutorial, it's easy. StarCraft, hard. I think StarCraft sales are actually going to be quite disappointing if they don't make it a lot fucking easier.
I disagree with that
compared
so strongly.
to the potential if they had made it.
Compared to a made-up potential that you're making up and have no way to
potential
verify.
of World of Warcraft or Farmville, it would sell millions and millions of copies.
But it can't compare to the size of my penis. I can just make stuff up like you're doing.
I think the evidence is clear.
What
that
evidence?
Look at the track record of the games that have sold in recent history and how many they have sold. Easy games tutorials, games that any moron
There's
can play.
There's a difference between an easy game and a game with a tutorial. And you're still forgetting the fact that we're talking about finished games there versus beta tests. They're very, very different worlds.
The more accessible a game is, the more it will sell. The game is not accessible.
But it doesn't necessarily need to be polishedly accessible in alpha and beta testing.
Yes, it does, because you're going to want to test. If you're looking to pick up the people, right? If you want to get the big sales, you need to appeal to not the hardcore, but to the other people.
It depends on your game.
You can't test for those people if they're not playing, and those people can't play if there's no tutorial.
Scott, again, you're oversimplifying. I mean, you can have an open beta versus a closed beta. Most products will have different phases of the beta. Like
the only reason they have phases of the beta, you don't want to know why they have phases of beta?
Well, some people do it for marketing reasons.
No, there's only one reason that anyone does betas in phases, and the reason is this. You do beta phase 1, right? Everybody reports the one bug, the same exact bug. You fix it, Okay? If you don't have another phase of the beta, none of those people, usually most people report one bug if they report any bug.
What, do you have any evidence of this? Because I mean, I've beta tested a lot of games. I report a shit ton of things.
You're the only one. Go look online for like there's plenty of people talking about their beta tests and the statistics
Okay,
from
so
them.
you're so far all you got for me is some guy on the internet.
It's not some guy on the internet.
I
this
just,
is
I don't believe you.
well-known beta testing, statistics and everything.
I straight up don't believe you.
Well, that's fine. But the truth of the matter is when you do a beta test, the vast majority of people report 0 bugs. People who do report a bug report like the first bug they come across, and that's it. So you do phases of the beta because that way the people sign up, they're in phase 1, they report the one bug in phase 1 that they all notice.
See, one example, the old MMO, The Realm.
Then if you don't have a phase 2 where more people, those people will just stop playing or they won't report another bug ever again. So you need a phase 2, all these new people come in, and now that first bug is fixed, so now they discovered the new bugs.
Like,
and you keep having phases so that people keep discovering and reporting
The
new
Realm,
ones.
They made a new they're making a new version of the game, and they opened up first they had the alpha testing, and they started they had like many phases of the alpha and then the beta, and each phase they started with the hardcore players and the developers and people like that to work out kinks and game balance, and then they brought in a wider swatch, but still only the kind of experienced players who didn't need any hand-holding and guidance just to get the game polished. After all that, then they set up tutorials and all those sorts of things. Then they opened the beta up to pretty much anyone who already had an account who wanted to do the beta.
And how many people did they sell this game to?
Back then, comparatively, I don't know offhand.
Yeah. Okay. And how many do the really easy moron games sell?
But Scott,
Farmville loses millions of players, and they're just like, okay, we still have millions more.
So you're
it's a moron.
So
game.
you're gonna just completely compare?
No, I'm
apples
saying
to
is
oranges?
No, because the thing is, when I suggested that they should have a tutorial, the only
they
argument
should. Not in the beta.
The only
not
argument,
the first thing in the beta.
The reason you gave for they shouldn't have it is that there is no financial incentive.
No, I said that's a reason why they do. That was just a secondary. Like, they don't need it. They'll sell just fine anyway. But
they won't sell just fine anyway. Easy moron games sell more. Tutorials make the game easier and more accessible and will increase sales vastly. There is a huge financial incentive to having
Scott,
the tutorial.
I'm talking just about StarCraft. I don't think a tutorial will make the game sell anymore.
I think a tutorial will make the game sell a lot more.
But that aside, the only issue I take that you're taking this weird position on is that prioritizing the tutorial as the first thing in your alpha and beta testing is ludicrous.
Why is it ludicrous?
For all the reasons I said for the last 20 minutes.
Tutorial is you can't even have a game without a tutorial. Don't even let anyone play it unless there's instructions in the tutorial.
Okay, I disagree with you 100%.
Well, shows we'll see how well your game sells.
What about your game?
I know, right?
Why are you even doing anything in Project Dwarf? You need a tutorial.
Because there's nothing, you can't play it yet.
There's something there. You don't have a tutorial.
Because it's not a game that we've given to anyone to play.
So at what point are you going to make the tutorial?
When we say, hey, this game is playable, there will be a tutorial.
So when you do the beta test? As opposed to the alpha? Like, I don't think you just have any idea of how game development actually works.
Because first of all, this is an open source game that doesn't have any direction.
Oh, so it's a special exception. We don't need a tutorial right away.
You can't even make a tutorial when there's no game to tutorial.
All right, so when are you going to make the tutorial? That's
when there's a game.
That's got to be the first thing you do as soon as the game is in any way playable.
Before anyone says, here, come play this game, there will be a tutorial and instructions.
All right. I think prioritizing tutorial above other more basic beta testing is a poor way to go about beta testing a large game.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. Is you don't hand out the game to people and say, "Hey, play this."
Anyone
when there's no
tests.
instructions.
I mean, who do you hand it out to? A lot of people do a very closed alpha and then a very closed beta, and then they open up the beta more and more as the game gets more polished, and they add more of the noob-friendly stuff as they get to the point where they want to introduce noobs to the more polished game. They only want hardcore people testing the shitty version of the game because hardcore people understand that it's a beta. Noob people, show them any beta of any game, they'll say, "What the fuck is this?" and never play the game again.
Anyway, let's talk about RTSs here.
Which we already have.
Kind of, mostly. I mean, I don't know. Is there anything left to say about RTSs that we haven't said yet?
So you segue back to nothing?
Well, because you turned my minor point into a huge tangent taking up the entire show because for some reason you think it's moronic to have a tutorial and to make more money by making a game more accessible.
No, I'm saying that tutorials are great in finished games, but they shouldn't be prioritized at the top of the queue in the beta test.
I think that you just shouldn't put out a game of any kind, board, video, RPG of any kind. You should not hand it to people and say, play this, whether it's beta or finished.
Anyone in the world?
You should not make your game, and tell people play this if there are no instructions or tutorials.
I mean, one thing you do in like HCI when you're developing interfaces for things, non-games, for example, is you bring people in off the street and do basically closed betas with no tutorial just to see how they flounder. And then you use that as guidance to make better interfaces and to change things in whatever it is you're building. That's straight up
user interface. That's a completely different thing. That's like having a focus group. You can come in with a focus group and ask people questions about what kind of game they would want.
A lot of big studios for game development, that's what they do. They'll have like an in-house beta, not even a closed beta where they give out keys, but a beta where you can only play the game if you're there, and they watch you play it, and they ask you shit about it while you're playing it.
You know what? I would like to point out, right, that the perhaps most successful, right, software and, design and development companies in the universe, like Apple, Nintendo, etc. No focus groups, no betas, no nothing. Right?
You're 100% sure that Microsoft doesn't test beta interfaces.
I didn't say
on
Microsoft.
people.
Microsoft sucks at design.
Right. So Apple doesn't test interfaces.
Apple
on
has
anyone?
no focus groups whatsoever. Zero.
So
none.
what?
They don't beta test anything to the public
Scott,
ever.
I didn't say to the public. You said no beta test at all. They beta test, but the only difference is they hire people to do the beta testing rather than bringing in people off the street and then making them
They
sign
don't
an
hire
NDA.
people to do the testing. They already have the people. It's the people that are already there.
Scott, that's a stupid pedantic distinction.
That is a very important distinction.
They have people on staff to do the testing.
No, they're the same people who are making the things.
Actually, that is against all principle of HCI, is having the same people who design something test it.
Yes, but you know what? That's what Apple does.
I don't think that's what they do, and unless you cite some evidence, I'm calling bullshit on that too.
Go look it up. Apple.
No, you're the one who made the claim. Cite your bullshit.
I gotta go find the article, but it talks about Apple's design process, and basically they just
is this from an Apple employee? Is this certified as being legit, or is this just some journalist?
They're books. They're pretty much, you can say Apple's so secretive, but they're books about Apple, and basically it's just a bunch of geniuses, and they just do it, and then they release it when it's done.
With zero internal testing from non-designers whatsoever.
It's the people.
I highly doubt that, and I think you're full of shit.
The point is, they don't do beta tests. They don't have anything without instructions. They don't have anything without a tutorial. Nintendo, right? Nothing's open. Everything they do on their own.
Scott, and so what's their internal process? Because they do have beta testers. They have closed betas on things internally. Why do you think they get all those special thanks on some of the games they've made in the past?
Yeah, but they
do what you just said they don't do.
But everything has instructions and a tutorial before.
How do you don't know what they gave those original beta testers?
Everything has instructions and
You don't know what they gave those original. You're just making shit up.
All
you
right,
don't know.
Enough with your tangents, right? Someone says here that they saw the documentary, and it's true. They saw the same thing I did. Apple does no betas. And they have designed better than anybody. They're the best. Right? So don't be, these people doing this thing that's against the standard. They're doing it wrong.
No, Scott, all I was saying was that internal to Apple, how do you know that, engineering team designs the interface, that at some point they don't have someone who is not a member of that engineering team specifically test the interface?
It doesn't matter.
Because that's what I was saying they should do.
Because the original argument is about tutorials, right? And the fact is that Apple, the best. No one comes even close. Blizzard not doing things the way Apple does, therefore not as good. They should do it. Everyone should do things the way the people who are doing it the best are, which is tutorials, easy instructions, making things more accessible. Those are the priorities. That's what gets you bigger sales. Look at all the things that have come out in recent history. The accessible, easy things.
So then why make a difficult game? Why make a game that's hard? Because by definition, very difficult games become inaccessible.
If I was a big company trying to make money, like a public company like Blizzard, I wouldn't. If my goal was money, I would not make any hard games ever.
Okay, so
if my goal was to make awesome games, then I would make a hard game because I like
but then you're
going to
violate all the stuff you just said. So what if Blizzard's just trying to make a good game with StarCraft?
If they were just trying to make a hard game, I would still have instructions in a tutorial.
Yeah, but I wouldn't prioritize that as the first thing.
I would because am I trying to make any money at all, or am I doing it as like a labor of love?
I highly doubt that the experiences in the beta test are going to in any way negatively impact the sales of a large game like that.
I think that they impact the sales a lot more than you think.
I don't think so.
Well, you think wrong.
Especially not for StarCraft.
I think for StarCraft, definitely.
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of people, right? They sign up for betas because they're the same poor kids who want to pirate the game. They just want to play for free before it comes out. And then if they don't, if that's a bad experience
But those are the people who weren't going to buy the game anyway. They're just going to pirate it.
No, it's not. Those are people, right? If they're basically, it's like a demo for them, right? And if they have a bad experience, they're not even going to pirate the game. They're never going to play it ever again. And if they have a good experience,
then they're going to pirate it and you make no money either way.
They can't, but the thing is, StarCraft has like the whole BattleNet thing, so they're going to pay for it.
Scott, I know several of my coworkers have the pre-beta that they already pirated and play against each other all the time.
Yeah, but that's the beta that they can play against each other.
So they'll pirate the new one and crack it. Maybe they can't use BattleNet. They'll still play against each other. That's all they care about.
Then they weren't going to buy the game anyway,
exactly.
So what does it matter?
So we don't care about them.
But they're not, if they're pirating the game, though, to play against each other, they're not the noobs.
Yeah, I just think it's a silly design methodology to put a tutorial above every single other thing in your closed beta test.
You don't put it above
That's
every
what you
single
said.
other. No, I said you absolutely have to have one.
Actually have to have one before you start the beta?
Yes.
Then you prioritized it above everything else in the beta.
Not necessarily. You need to have the game in there, too.
All right, I have the tutorial.
You absolutely must have the tutorial and the game in the beta.
How much of the tutorial? So the tutorial says play the game because I didn't finish it yet. It's still in beta. Does that count?
The tutorial needs to teach you how to play the game.
Uh-huh.
It might have bugs in it because it's beta, but it has to be in there. So does the game also has to be in there. The options menu also has to be in there.
You know, when I played the alpha
A lot
test,
of things have to be in there.
When I played the alpha of the Realm, just another example, because that was the longest beta I was ever in, the first alpha release did not even have characters. You were just basically blob sprites walking around.
Yeah, you shouldn't be releasing something to beta if you don't even have that much
alpha.
done yet.
That was alpha. That wasn't beta.
Alphas are not for the public.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was just for the hardcore people there.
They were doing it wrong. And that's why they're dead now.
I think they're dead now because they were the first MMO, and all the MMOs that came out from that time died at about the same time.
Yeah, if Blizzard, though, had made the first MMO and it was World of Warcraft, it would be where it is now. It would be even bigger than it is now.
Well, the thing is, that would have been impossible with technology back then.
Yeah, but it would have looked like Warcraft 1.
Thing is, if they made it back then, I think it still would have died, and they would have made another more polished version of World of Warcraft later, because back then...
Well, that's what they've been doing, right?
Because back then, the only people who played MMOs were hardcore gamers already. There was no casual market for stuff back then like that. PC gaming was this kind of niche area.
The thing is, I think the casual market did exist. It was just no one made the casual game to actually open it up, so not a single casual...
Yeah, because back then, just the amount of PC ownership was low.
No, but all those people were still playing Solitaire, waiting for a different game.
But I don't think...
All those people were playing Tetris, waiting for a different game.
I'm pretty sure all the people who played Solitaire, however, never moved on to playing anything but Solitaire, because I see people to this day
No,
in
those
offices
people
just
are playing
Solitaire.
Farmville now. They're playing Farmville, and they're playing playing Bejeweled, and they're playing World of Warcraft.
I think Bejeweled is still like 10 leagues above things like Mafia Wars and Farmville. Those aren't games. Those are just carrot
Bejeweled
machines.
is the same exact thing.
At least
it's not
it looks
even
better.
Bejeweled is not even as good as Tetris.
Of course not.
I mean, Bejeweled isn't even at Sudoku levels.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you trying to say? I mean, Bejeweled happens to actually be in World of Warcraft, right? They actually did that. That wasn't
because if you get bored,
that wasn't like an April Fool's joke. That was real.
That was real.
Okay.
All right, I think we're done. The moral of this: we suck ass at RTSs.
We suck so much.
And when StarCraft comes out for legit, we're gonna play against you, listeners, and you will really laugh at us.
I've been playing, a little bit. I played 5 times in the practice, and I played the get ranked 5 games, and I ranked really low. But I did win some of them because only because the one guy taught me I need to build a lot of SCVs. But I have no instructions, so if someone wants to send me instructions, like I don't know what I've been only playing Terran because I at least remember more of their stuff from StarCraft 1. But I don't know what half the units do. Like I don't even build like the ghosts because I don't know how they work. And I don't need, I built a unit once, like a whole bunch of them, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win now. The unit couldn't attack the ground, it was only air to air. And I was like, oh shit, and I just lost. And, because there were no instructions. So, whatever.
Yeah, but it's a beta. They're testing all sorts of other things.
Yeah, how about some instructions? So, if I gave me instructions, I'd be able to help them test. Instead, I'm not testing the game, I'm testing my stupidity.
See, I haven't looked for instructions yet, so I don't know if they're out there or not, because I just haven't bothered looking for them. I just kind of figured the game out.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. We're done with the show.
Yep, I think we're done. This This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Oh. Oop. Ah. Okay, that works. It's Tuesday, May 18th. I'm Rim.
I'm yawning.
Good God. It's Tuesday, May 18th. I'm Rim.
I wasn't done yawning.
Scott, you already finished, Leon.
I couldn't.